Hi there, thank you for joining me. My name is Susanna Henry, and for my senior SEM project, I chose to make a documentary that showcased COVID-19 and how this is impacting all areas of the world. So my inspiration for this documentary was the fact that I was born and I grew up overseas in Turkey. I grew up going to an international school where I was able to meet people from all around the world, and I've been blessed to still be in contact with them and get to hear about their lives and how this COVID-19 has impacted them. I was also interested in how our sense of identity has shifted as we have moved to being at home. I know that a lot of people are probably dealing with anxiety and they don't know where to get their social interactions from, and I was just curious to hear other people's perspectives of how they have dealt with this change, especially because it's been for 1 to 2 months for some people. I chose to make a video because I thought it was a great way for people to share their stories firsthand, where we could have visuals of what their area of the world looks like and they can share with us. I found this crazy statistic that people who have weaker social relationships are 50% more likely to die over a given period than those with a robust connection. I think right now we aren't able to control our social interactions, but the fact that people like these, they are still trying to find relationships and contact and communication with people, even if it's through their balcony, through a car, etc. I also think that it's really important that we have a bigger perspective than just our own. I know that at the beginning of the stay at home, I was really upset that I was having to stay here on campus and people were able to go home. But I think just hearing about other people's experiences around the world, how some people are by themselves in a different country, I think it just puts my life into perspective. And the fact that a third of the people around the world are in some sort of stay at home order just reminds me that I'm not alone in this, and my frustration is valid, but everyone else is also dealing with the same situation. I thought it was really encouraging that Zoom calls seem to be more popular than Netflix and Amazon. I know at the beginning everyone was trying to catch up on their Netflix, but after a while we don't get the same satisfaction as we do with human contact, and I love that we are finding creative ways to keep in touch with each other. I know I've been calling my friends constantly every day, and because I am not surrounded by a ton of people here on campus, I've had to utilize my social media, my phone to call my parents and find some sort of human connection. I think this situation also reminds us how valuable our relationships are and how we might have taken them for granted in the past. I was also curious and asked people if they thought that technology was a key part of their at-home isolation period, if they were using their phone constantly. I know at the beginning I definitely was, because I saw this as the only way I got to interact with people, but I think it's really important to find the balance of this, and am curious if it does cause barriers in relationships that we might find with people in our home, in our community, so on. I also think it's so interesting that we don't know anything really about how the situation is going to go. We don't know when it will end. And I was curious to hear about other people's perspectives of how they think life is going to change after this whole situation. So here are the faces of the people that I interviewed. First, I have Elijah, who I went to school with in Turkey, and he goes to school in Colorado, but he decided to come home, and he is in Turkey right now, and it was awesome to hear his experience and his perspective of the heavy lockdown that Turkey is experiencing right now. I also had Becca, who is a Gordon grad, recent Gordon grad, who is living in South Korea. She was there at the height of it, and it was great to hear her perspective and how people are loosening up and they are walking outside. People aren't necessarily wearing masks. I think it was really encouraging to see that the slope had really gone down and that they are returning to some type of normal. I also connected through a friend to Mary Ann, who is living in Spain. she is American, but she is living in Spain for now, and it was really interesting to hear her perspective because Spain has been one of the most strict countries with the stay-at-home order. I think she's been at home for about 2 months, and it was interesting to hear how she's dealt with teaching online. And yeah. Last, I have my brother, Tommy, who lives in New York City, and that is one of the most heavily coronavirus located places in America, and I know I'm constantly worried about him, but it was great to see how he is thriving and finding things to do at home, staying active, and that he isn't letting the situation bring him down and still living the great life in New York City. So I found this really useful tool on the World Health Organization. They have a map, and let me click the link for you. So they have these circles to see how heavily there are cases in each location. So when you click on them, it gives you how many confirmed cases there are, how many deaths there are, and I just thought it was so interesting how we could visualize this. And so I just looked at each location of people that I had interviewed. So I have Turkey there, and then Spain, and then wait till you see America. Yikes. I mean, I know America's a big country, but that's still scary to see how big the circle is. If you'd like to check that out for yourself, I'd really recommend it. Alright, so I'd like to end my presentation by giving you guys a glimpse of my interviews, and if you'd like to check out the rest of the videos, I think it will be linked in our page as well.
So the experience in South Korea, I feel like, has been a little bit different from the States, just because Korea responded a lot differently and the government was a lot more involved in trying to contain the situation as fast as possible. But the way that we set up like testing kits and testing areas and just ways to get the public aware of how to respond best. Korea is really doing a lot better. There's a lot of people out on the streets. People are still wearing masks, but actually not as much as it used to be. Schools have definitely pushed back their reopening dates. They've all gone online. Like universities are set to reopen in May, but Seoul is definitely on a positive slope.
Throughout the week, still the government doesn't have some sort of stay-at-home order or a lockdown or anything like that. Shops remain open, markets remain open. However, on the weekends, the government does do a full lockdown. The government considers it illegal to leave your home throughout that time, and there are fines of up to 3,000 or 4,000 lira, which is close to $700.
Because Spain has probably the strictest lockdown measures in the world, which is the surprise of the century, really. Normally everyone here is so relaxed, so no pasa nada, as we say. But the interesting part has been the unification of the community. I don't know if that's due to culture or the way the situation has been presented, but I think here it's been less divisive than I've seen it in other areas, and I see a lot more hope and a lot more effort made into making this the best that it can be.
Transportation is nearly impossible into the city unless you're an essential worker.
Well, that was just a preview of what my interviews went like, and I enjoyed making them so much. It was so interesting to hear how each location is really different and how they are dealing with the situation, and I'd actually love to try to find more people to interview and make it an even bigger project sometime in the future. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.